1st District candidates once again, the incumbent Democrat Mark Alessi and the Republican challenger Daniel Squadro. Let's talk about small businesses. We'll start with you, Mr. Alessi. What have you done to help all the small business owners, which is a backbone, of course, of our state?
Well, as the chair of the emerging workforce in the State Assembly, I have focused on this over the past year and a half to 2 years once I was appointed, to hold hearings across the state to look at what our state's assets are instead of what our liabilities are. I found that we're the patent capital of the world and we're the financial capital of the world, and other states are taking our products and merging them together, in those states to create jobs. So I focused in on why that was the case, and it's not what you would originally expect, our high property taxes or our tax structure, because they're going to Boston, they're going to Silicon Valley, places that are just as expensive as Long Island to do business. We need targeted tax cuts for incubating businesses. We're living close to Brookhaven National Lab, Cold Spring Harbor Lab, Stony Brook University, where inventors and researchers are coming out with new patents that are going to revolutionize and innovate our economy. We should be the forefront of this innovation in New York State because we do spend a lot of money on education, and we have one of the most educated workforces. We need to harness this power. I helped buy a $26 million supercomputer for Brookhaven National Lab. It's one of the fastest computers in the world. This computer is helping create jobs all across the state, in Schenectady, in Buffalo, and obviously right here on Long Island. I will continue to push this agenda forward. This is how we dig ourselves out of this economic crisis, the innovation economy.
Okay, Mr. Squadro, how would you help small business remotely?
We should be the job capital of the country, but we're not because we are being taxed out of existence. Businesses, as difficult as things were before the MTA payroll tax, that was a nail in the coffin. That tax has driven an underground economy here on Long Island, further impacting tax revenues. We need a star rebate for small businesses. On top of restoring it for middle-class working families here on Long Island, we need to extend that rebate to small businesses. Obviously, we need to eliminate the MTA tax. It's an absolute job killer. Empire zones were one of the few areas that we had on Long Island to provide those type of tax cuts on a state level and attract businesses. This budget, unfortunately, reduced that program, put a lot more money into tax credits for New York City. We see where the direction New York State is heading. It's all about New York City. It is all about the urban environment, not the suburban environment. It is something that we have to change. As a suburban county, we need to implement these type of tax cuts, these type of programs, get them back in place, get our economy and our jobs moving.
Mr. Squadro, the top of your party's ticket is Carl Palladino running for governor. Are you supporting him? Do you think he would be a good governor for you?
I really don't know Mr. Palladino that well. I had the opportunity to meet him for about 30 seconds. Many of the people, I think, who are behind him are frustrated by the ineptitude and the stalemate within government. I think that was very clear in the results of that election. And I look forward to working on the Republican line, on the conservative line, on the school tax relief line. I think this is a time in our state's history where we absolutely have to change the direction that we are going. And I think people are cognizant of that fact. And I expect a very good result this year.
So at the top of your ticket, Andrew Cuomo, the critics will say is exactly what voters don't want right now. Someone who's been part of Albany for basically his whole life. Well, you think he'd be a good governor?
I'm standing here and I'm telling you, you could be elected to office and represent people in Albany and not believe in what's happening in Albany and wanting to change that. I'm a testament to that. And I think Andrew Cuomo has done a great job as Attorney General. So if you're comparing Andrew Cuomo to Carl Palladino, a guy who wants to jail poor people and put them in concentration camps, yes, he has a lot of frustrated people behind him. And there are times in history where people were frustrated and there's a bad economy. And it was met with anger and stirring fear in people, and they went after the most vulnerable in society. It happened in Germany, and we don't want it happening in New York.
Let's talk about, you both mentioned the MTA. People are so frustrated over, less service and paying more for fare hikes. What's the problem with the MTA, and how do we get those costs under control? Start with you, Mr.
Well, tonight there's actually a public hearing on the MTA, on their operating budget. And I plan to tell them right out. They have a number of personal service contracts that need to be done away with. These are times of austerity. So it's time that the MTA starts living within their means. Overtime costs are out of control. They're close to $500 million a year. So there are controller reports that detail exactly how to pare down those overtime costs with better management. So, again, I voted against that MTA payroll tax because back in 2003, I was one of the guys that was pushing the state controller's office into auditing the MTA to begin with. And back then we found 2 sets of books. So we've been dealing with a state agency that has never been forthright with the public. So I have a problem with giving them more money. You look at the overtime costs, you look at those personal service contracts, I don't think the MTA needs to be putting Wi-Fi on subway trains. There are plenty of private vendors that will do that for free to build their customer base. It's time for government to get out of the way, let the private sector do those amenities, and they should pare down those, I guess, incentives and operate more on austerity measures until we're out of this crisis.
Okay, Mr. Squadron, the MTA, what can be done?
You know, my opponent talks about opposing the MTA tax, but when that tax was up for a vote, he was actually proposing alternatives, that people would be taxed at various rates as they moved out across Long Island. It still would have taxed people in Suffolk County for services they don't get. The MTA pays for Nassau bus services outright. We don't get a dime for that in Suffolk County. As a Suffolk County legislator, I know that. Those items that my opponent brought up are very, very valid points. But it doesn't address the fact that New York City has been unwilling to accept their share of this problem. The East River bridges were removed from the equation when this tax was being discussed. We absolutely have to have tolls on the East River bridges. We absolutely have to look at increasing the fares on the subway, which have not been raised to keep with the rate of inflation. This is something that has to be done, and unfortunately with the stranglehold that New York City has on us, it won't be done until we change the power and the representation that we have.
May I? I'm sorry. In hearing that response, I'm hearing everything that I've been proposing. First of all, the reason I voted against the MTA payroll tax is it was unfair for Long Island because the bridges were not a part of it. It was a New York City-centric bill. I don't know what else my opponent would do differently than what I've done, except for the fact that he said he wouldn't have tried to negotiate the tax down, which is what I was trying to do. And it would have been no tax for the people on the east end of Long Island and in eastern Suffolk County. It would have been concentric circles. But in the end, I voted no. I was trying to make it better for Suffolk County residents.
Okay, we'll give you 30 seconds as well, Mr. Scott.
Well, I can tell you that as a member of the majority, and having heard my opponent say in the past that if someone went against him with a piece of legislation in his district, that they would have hell to pay because he would hold up their legislation. Well, I didn't see him railing against Shelley Silver and the New York City Democrats and holding up their legislation when he's voting with them over 92% of the time.
Okay, for time purposes, if you can give me a 15, 20-second answer if possible. School taxes on Long Island schools are funded by our property taxes. Do you favor an income tax rather than that? Would that be more fair for squadrons?
I don't believe so. Suffolk County has too many second homes. Having people who are non-residents here, I think would make that very difficult. What we need to do is have a more equitable distribution formula and stop us subsidizing our schools to the tune of 80%, while New York City to the tune of 50 or 55%.
Okay, Mr. Leslie.
Earlier today, my opponent incorrectly said that there was never an up and down vote on a property tax cap. In fact, in the Assembly, we passed a circuit breaker which would cap your taxes and actually cut your taxes depending on your income. And this would have pushed the onus of funding our school districts away from middle-class property taxpayers and put it back to Albany where it belongs. The New York State and the federal government needs to be funding our education systems, not the property taxpayer. I've been advocating that since I got to Albany in 2005.
We've got the right to closing statements now. The order was determined at random. Mr. Leslie.
Like I said before, I have taken on the special interests. I have taken on issues that many people said were much larger than me. And working with the people in my community, we prevailed. I am proud to say that I have an independent voting record, that I do not listen to any party bosses, and most importantly, I'm effective, and I've gotten results. So I hope that I've done everything I could to earn your support. But my goal has never